In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an environment for web page development step by step. Hi, I'm Juntao. I'm a web developer and an author. I have published several books on web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. If you are struggling with where to start your web development journey, this video walks you through exactly what you need for your very first web page. Let's get started. So first thing first, we will need to download a text editor. Although there are so many available options out there, the most popular one at the moment is the Visual Studio Code, and we will use this in all the other tutorials I will create later on. So first thing first, you need to download it, and it really depends on what platform are you using. I'm using Mac, and all my tutorial will be based on the Mac platform. So download it first. Once you have it download, it's a zip package, and you basically unzip it, and you will have the application. Next thing you will do is just drag it into your applications folder, and then you have it. If you want to launch it, as I do, it will have a get started tour for you, and I think most people will nowadays will use a dark theme. It's all good. You can pick it up or you can skip it. Let's just mark them down at the moment. So the very first thing I would do with the Visual Studio Code is get familiar with all the keyboard shortcuts. And as a professional developer, it's highly recommended you to master the keyboard shortcuts as well. It's just more efficient. So the first shortcut you will learn in code is Command Shift P, which will launch a tiny panel on the screen, on the top of the screen, as you can see here. There you can input many commands to tell to ask the code to do something for you. For example, so I'd like to add the code command line 2 into my terminal, so I can launch open the folder in code whenever I am. For example, I think it's called shell command. Shell command install code command in path. What it does is basically adding the code into your terminal. So for example, if I'm in one of the folder, and if I want to start code editor with all the files in this folder opened, it will say, okay, command cannot be found, because code obviously it doesn't know, the terminal doesn't understand what the code means here. So I need to install that command. It's called shell command install code, and then it asks it needs permission, but that's fine, we will give it permission. Just type in your password for your Mac, and once it's installed, you should be able to open something from that terminal. Yep. And that's the very first thing I would do. Next, let's learn some common shortcuts. You will probably use that every single day, I promise. So the first one I use quite often is jump to the Explorer panel, which is Command Shift E. E for Explorer, I guess. Command Shift E. You can see the focus. If now I'm editing, it's like editing here. And if I Command Shift E, it will go to that panel. So then I can navigate by keyboard to the file, next file, or things like that. And if I press the Command Shift E again, it will switch back to the editing area, which is pretty handy. In code, you can actually run the shell or terminal or command line from your code, which is controlled by control backcode. Backcode is the key that on the left side of your number 1 on the keyboard. So control backcode will launch a terminal in your code, in your Visual Studio Code. And with that, you can run like npm install, npm start, which we will cover that in a later stage. But basically, it's just like run any command line scripts, which we will use quite often as well as developer. So yeah, that's another very common shortcuts. The next one I use quite often is Command P. Command P will launch the most recent files you have edited. So like for example, I have edited 2 files. It's listed here, and you can use the arrow key to navigate up and down, or you can, for example, you can navigate by symbols. For example, if I'd like to jump into line 20, as you can see, actually there is a hint message here on the tiny command bar here. You can see colon 20. It will go to line 20 immediately. Or the most advanced one is use the @ for symbols. The symbol is more like a structured. So the Visual Studio Code will pass your document or your file into a structured information, and then you can navigate from one to another. For example, our HTML beneath has a content div. We can like go to that div right away. And for CSS files as well, you can use the same function. Like here I use the @ They will give you a list of CSS rules or selectors. It's very easy to navigate from one to another, right? Yeah, that's very convenient for especially for larger files. Like normally you would have maybe hundreds of lines in a CSS, and if you just scroll up and down, it's kind of difficult to find, especially when you have the name in your mind, but you just don't know which line it is. So it's very easy. Command P dot main, it will jump right to the point. Yeah, that's the shortcut I use quite often. You can use Command Shift P as well. Command P, Command Shift P, I think they're pretty using, maybe under the hood they're using the same function. Let's say Command P, if you input the greater than mark, it's exactly the same as the command plate. Maybe install extensions. Yeah, it's like extensions, install extensions. You can do that as well. So you can quickly launch that command plate by using Command Shift P. Pretty much about the shortcuts. You can always launch the shortcuts panel by Command key, Command S. Right. Once you are familiar with common shortcuts, it's time for us to jump into the extension parts. The extension is the real source of power of code editor. With the extensions, you can turn your Visual Studio Code to something more powerful, like IDE, but it's not the IDE actually. It's just a core with many other extensions, you can customize exactly the way you want. So here we are customizing it as the HTML and CSS editor. The first one I would recommend is the live server. So to install any extensions in code, you just Command-Shift-P is a very common one. You can do like install extensions like this one, the extensions, install extensions, or you can use shortcut Command-Shift-X to launch a extension panel, and here you can search for that server, live server, and install is just to click install. You will have it installed right away. So essentially it's a extension that will launch a HTTP server on your local environment, and it will listen your change in your HTML or CSS. Once it's detected that change, it will refresh the page automatically. We don't have to worry about the on the hood mechanism, but yeah, that's basically what it does. To launch the server, you have two ways. Like normally you can click a button here, it's go live, click to run live server. It will launch a server with this HTML. It will launch the application or your HTML in your browser. Another way is you can use shortcuts. So like live server, you can say here it's suggested Command L, Command O. I guess let's live open, and you can stop it at as well. Use Command L, Command C. So Command L, Command O. Let's try that. Command L, Command O. Yeah, it's launched the application, right? So yeah, actually there's a pop-up here says it's launched at this port, which is good. We don't need that hint anymore. And I'd like to show you that how we like normally do the development. So I would normally like have split my screen into two parts. One is the browser, and the other is the editor. So here, if I'd like to add something new in HTML, let's say I'd like to add in H1, say hello world, and it will immediately put it into the browser. And obviously I don't want to destroy the whole page layout. And yeah, it's working perfect. If I want to customize some style in CSS, I can do the same thing, like H1. Maybe, you know, we can change the font color to red, let's say, and text transform to uppercase, or give it a background color to something strange, let's say Alice aqua. Yeah, things like that. You can do that right away, and it's very easy and efficient to debugging when you developing the HTML and CSS. Another one I use quite often is the prettier. You know, it's actually not mandatory, but it's good to have. You can install it just as all the other extensions by click it, and yeah, you have it. And the way you use it, it's just like if you messed up the format, or like if you adding some strange paddings, or you know, people doing different things in like without intention, or have different So like if you copied some CSS from Stack Overflow, let's say, and you want to format it automatically, obviously if you save at the moment, it's not going to change, but you can always do Command Shift P and format. You type command format document, and it will say there are multiple formats for CSS. Which one do you want to use? We can use the prettier, because basically VSCode has its own formatter, but we want something fancy, right? The prettier. Let's say you have some space missing here, and you can format it, or you can configure it as auto formatting. The way you do the configuration in VSCode is command comma. It will launch the setting panel, and now you want to, let's say, format on saving. You can see here is a toggle. In the editor, you want to format a file on save. When tick the checkbox, and now if we like mess it up again, do something strange, and we save, it will format automatically, which is pretty cool. And it's kind of you don't have to worry about the formatting at all. You're just doing the editing, and then you save, and it's formatted automatically. The next extension I use quite often is the icon. I think it's good to have. It's called VSCode icons. So by the way, let's have a look at the default icon. Actually, it's pretty. It's okay. You can read it, right? It's kind of makes sense. Have a hash, but this one is more obvious compared to the built-in one. So once you have it, you can now set file icons theme. You can set it as a VSCode icon, and then when you go to your Explorer, you can see it has much fancy icons. Essentially, it's the same thing, but it's more direct. You can see what the file is about. Especially when you have a larger project, let's say you have hundreds of files, it's much easier to say, oh, what the file is about. The last one is something about image, especially for the SVG image. As you can see, VSCode has built-in image previewer for JPEG or PNG, but for SVG it's pure code, but we want to see it. The plugin for this is called Svg Preview, I think. And if you install that, and you will be able to see the image file, and you can see on the right hand side it's an image, and if you want to change the color to something like red or pink, it's just working, which is pretty cool if you can do that. That's pretty much about all the extensions. There you have it. With only a few steps, you have a full configured environment for your web application development. It's ready for you to explore furthermore. I'm making a series of tutorials to teach how to do the web development from scratch. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification. Now until next time, see you.